Paul discusses his wish to his father. His father is like, nah. Um, you know, Emperor's like basically trying to instigate this battle between, House Harkonnen and House Atreides. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to set up a war here so that he can get rid of them because they're both kind of gaining power. So this is what he's doing. He's disabling them from the outside, the Emperor. Using his overall supreme power, he can pretty much just, bully these two into fighting each other. Sounds very interesting. And see, this is the kind of stuff that I really like. It's realistic. We've seen this kind of behavior in history and in the world. And to see it done in practice in a story like this, in a fantasy story, is just mwah, chef's kiss. We need more of this. Leto and see, there's no it's just so seamless within a story to use like this kind of political puppetry. Anyway, and it really it helps build up this Emperor character who we're going to see in the second film. Anyway, Leto, basically he's like, he's like, basically talks to, he's basically telling Paul all this stuff. And he's like, I want you to become the next generation of leaders. And, leaders, he says, like, leaders, they don't choose to be leaders. They, are leaders. They're called to be leaders, essentially. Interesting stuff. And then, he wants to go to Arrakis, and his father's like, nah, you got to stay here and, learn the politics of the time. Anyway, then we see, what's his name? Gurney, who is, played by Josh Brolin, and he fights with, Paul, and we get to kind of see the fighting, the hand-to-hand combat technology. And again, I don't like these these suits that they wear. It just kind of takes a lot of the stakes out of the fighting. It makes it kind of look like a video game. It looks kind of corny to me. Like a lot of these fight sequences did. I didn't find them very convincing. I'm sorry, and I'm maybe in the minority. And this is where one of my complaints comes in. This a lot of the action here just. It wasn't that mind-blowing to me. I thought it was fine, but I thought these kind of suits, and I'm sure this is part of the books, so I'm not going to really take it away from the movie. But again, if I'm just going to give you my personal preference, I would have just rather seen, and I like this idea of having the mixture of high technology with, old warfare, classical warfare. But I don't know. I just think the bloody goriness of the classical warfare kind of gets lost when they're wearing these, suits that look like this. I'm fine with, armor, but just I don't know. This kind of armor I thought was kind of goofy. I'm sorry. It's just my opinion. It just looked goofy. I don't know. But yeah, we get this fight sequence. It's probably one of my favorites of the film. You see Josh Brolin doing a lot of these stunts, so good for him. And he's even able to take an old man joke in there as well. And then we get we get to meet Wellington Yue, who is basically I think he's the guy. Is he the guy who ends up flipping on Leto? I think he is. And then we get some stuff here with Leto. We're basically and this woman, we meet the woman who leads this witch order that Lady Jessica is part of. She basically has a scene with Jessica where she's like, oh, you shouldn't have had a boy because only women are supposed to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then, Paul also is kind of questioning the motives of Jessica. It's kind of trying to. It's interesting. I like when they do this with these kind of characters. You know, it gives Jessica some purpose here because it's like I like when they have a character that ends up being truthful and honest, like Jessica, and I like how they try and have other characters try to draw her dishonesty because then when she battles against them with her logic, you start to really see that this character is pretty virtuous, as you see throughout the film. Anyway. The Atreides arrive, and this is the only sequence you get. And like I said earlier, how they talks about learning about the people, and I said he doesn't learn about the people. This is what I'm talking about. They show up, and you get this scene where they walk out of the plane, and they basically look, and there's like some people like cheering. They're saying like, "Oh, saviors, saviors," or something like that, cheering for them, and like, you never really get to really see the worlds that these people inhabit and these houses actually rule. You really only see the noble class. You don't really get to see the actual places that they're ruling, and that's what I don't really love about this film, is that it doesn't really feel immersive. You don't really get to feel the cultures of these characters, the real difference between them. A lot of the costumes look the same for the good guys and the bad guys. It's just there just isn't enough variation here. I like the Fremen. The Fremens are definitely the most interesting characters, but they're not really in the film for very much. They're in there the last 15 minutes of the film. So like the whole time you're just kind of with these characters, this group of characters, the Atreides that you don't really have a reason to like. You don't really, they don't really give you a reason outside of the fact that you think, the royal family is interesting, but you don't really have any connection to any of the actual characters, because there's no real weight to anything as well. There's just because there's you don't really know any of the people that are being affected by any of this. There's no scope to anything, and that's really my biggest complaint with this film. And I remember watching it and just being like, man, I really wish I cared more about this than I do. And it's a shame because I was really looking forward to this, but at the same time, there are a lot of things I really like in this film. So don't get me wrong, and I think there's things that they can build upon in the second film. And I think the second film can maybe make this better, and not necessarily, and just kind of patch up a lot of the holes that this film has. That's why I'm happy they made it part one. It feels like a part one, but we'll talk about the ending. Anyway,